Hey, good morning, guys. Let's talk markets. It's 9:37 Chicago time. We're on the 24th of February. All right, a little bit of a run around and see what's going on. Listen, the big story of the day continue to be yields here, as the 10-year yields is breaking 140 and it's attacking the top of this trending channel. And these yields, guys, are on kind of everybody's minds right now, and I think the Fed is going to watch them. Interesting to see the development on here, but this should continue to favor financials, and slowly, if they move higher and they move too fast, they're going to pressure the stock market. So keep an eye on these things. I think very, very cool, important developments onto the yield market. Same with the yield curve. And I'm sorry for kind of starting my my presentation kind of always focusing on this, but I think that's very important for the overall structure of the market. So continue to watch that. Ethereum, it's pulling back in here. We'll take a look at our counts, but we're thinking we're in a fourth wave triangle. That's just kind of starting with the bigger sell-off that we've had a few days ago. The other story of the day is oil. That's continuing to make new highs, up 3% on the day here, 63.11, and we're continuing to target. I think those let's see where those highs are. I have them back in there. This is, about, well, actually, we're right there. We're right there. So important level of resistance that's coming up next. But, this continues to favor those energy stocks to move forward. So the story remains energy and financials, commodities. This is the reflation trade. This is the reopening of the economy. And, until this trade gets really, really crowded, we got to stay in it. But it's pretty much the story of the reopening, and at least for the beginning of the year here, maybe towards the middle of the year, I think this is going to continue. Once these trends kind of start, they have a tendency of keep going. So I'm really excited about that. Bitcoin is just kind of back near flat in there, but pulled back. It's probably that triangle that we've talked about it. And then on the last place here, we got gold. Gold is selling off. Why? Because yields are going higher, and gold doesn't like that. And this is where we are. Euro dollar, it's also pulling back a little bit, so I'm just slightly concerned, but not yet. Let's let it go. And I continue to stay bearish on the dollar for right now, even though we're getting a little bit of a pullback in here. All right, let's jump over to take a look quickly here at the map and see where that kind of takes us and what it shows us into the overall market. So you can see up here the technology sector, it's getting beaten up pretty much. The information here looks a little bit better. The information technology services, the software is pretty beat up, but Apple, Microsoft, like everything that's in tech gets sold off. So these companies are very, very susceptible to interest rate changes. I mean, I should say, what's the word? Sensitive, right? They're very, very sensitive to those things. So every time you have rates moving up, these guys are going to get hurt. And today is another example of that. So people are moving from interest sensitive, markets to higher interest rates markets. And those are financials and energy and some of the commodity stuff, right? So you can see in here, financials look pretty good. That's pretty awesome. You can see here also healthcare is kind of pulling back a little bit today. But look at the energy sector, right? It's just super super nice and green. Tesla is pulling back a little bit because of the major sell-off it's had. But overall, I mean, look at the industrial sector as well. So that's where the trends are. So we'll continue to kind of watch those and see where those go. So let me take a look at the cryptocurrencies in here. I'm going to go to the Optima, and I'm going to kind of spend a little bit of time looking at some of the alts and what's going on here, at least in some of these alts that I have on my list. So you look up here a little bit of the performance, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, right? So you can see year to date, IOTA 255%, BNB 566, and you kind of go down the list. Let me see if I can. Actually, it's BNB first, right? BNB, ADA, DOT. So major performance in here from the cryptocurrency market, year to date. Kind of the weakest ones you can see XMR, Litecoin, EOS, BCH, and then even BTC in here, it's about 63%. So most of the alts here obviously have massively outperformed Bitcoin, at least so far this year. And you can see here there's the relative performance to Bitcoin, and some of them are negative and a bunch of the other ones are positive. So then you have your month to date and your kind of week to date, and you can see how we're just selling off on there. So let's just kind of take them and kind of go through them kind of one by one and see where we are. So I'm going to go actually to the change on the day here and then look at IOTA, which I have here on the count. You can see I also have in here the monthly relative performance in them, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller in here, so you can see. So on a month basis, right, they're leading against Bitcoin, which is kind of what you see also on on the performance stuff as well. And I'll continue to kind of stay with this trend until they kind of start to turn around, and this might take a little bit of a time. Now this will update here towards the end of the month, and we might have a little bit of a turns in here and kind of changes, but nothing big enough yet to warrant a change in the overall outlook. So if you go from a 1 month here to a 1 week, this is kind of where you are, right? So even on a weekly basis, still a bunch of these cryptos are outperforming Bitcoin, and the alts are kind of holding their own, which is pretty good to see if you have pretty good exposure to alts, right? Your portfolio doesn't hurt that much, like with the Bitcoin selling off, but even Bitcoin kind of recovered, so that's pretty good. All right, let's kind of go back and take a look at this. You can see in IOTA the RSI is kind of selling off in here. We're holding up the ATR true range as a support. You can see the relative index comparison to Bitcoin. It's kind of pulling off. So this, every time this kind of indicator moves up, that's an outperformance versus Bitcoin. So it's kind of important to watch that versus some of the trends that are happening. But in terms of the counts, you have a 1 2 1 2, and I think that this is just like I've talked before, I think this is just a fourth wave that's forming right now, and then you still got to do this third wave in green in here, 4, and then so that would be, let me just kind of pull them up to the side in here, sorry, like that, and then you have, so 1 2 3, so you got to do 4 and 5 to complete this third, and then you got to do this fourth, and this is an extra one that I have in here, so I gotta delete that. So 3 4, and I guess I'm missing the 5 from here, 5 of 3. But that's kind of where I think this is going, and right now we're just possibly consolidating in this fourth wave. You can see up here on the daily charts, right, that's the 55 moving average, the 200, and up here you have the weekly SMA. All right, so IOTA will continue to stay bullish on it, and it looks pretty good. BNB on here, let's see what that does. Again, very nice. I mean, super here, right onto the weekly charts. Obviously, way this RSI was kind of going crazy and out of this world. We pulled back a little bit, so we're back to about 75 here on the weekly, which looks good. But again, I don't mind a little bit of a correction, but the trend remains up in here in BNB. And I'll take a look at the emotive wave counts. Let me just kind of jump on there and see if I have it on BNB, so we don't keep kind of bouncing back and forth. So go up here and take a look at the BNB, and yep, so third wave, guys, and we kind of pull above this 161%. It's normal to expect a little bit of a pullback in here. The problem that I have is the fact that this wave 2, it's obviously so big that this fourth wave, to become kind of above these levels, kind of has to stay in a triangle if it starts developing like that. But there is a chance that this third wave is not over, and we're pulling back up higher between this 1618 and 2618. There's plenty of room. I mean, this is crazy, right? You're looking at 261 multiple, that's 2385. We don't know if we're going to get all the way up there, but you can see how we're finding a little bit of resistance up into these levels. So nice impulsive move. Again, there could be that this is not done yet, and maybe we're going to continue to push slightly higher here, maybe even double from here before that's all over. All right, let's go back and take a look at Link. So Link in here looks pretty good on the daily charts. Nice pullback here from the 50-day moving average. The trend remains intact, and I think that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind, not to get scared of your positions as the market comes back and finds support all the way down here. A little bit of an oversold on the RSI, and you can see kind of how we sold off. In terms of performance, I mean, you can look at the arrow down there, and that's a weekly performance, right? So it's in the leading category, so I think that looks pretty good, as pretty much all of them are kind of outperforming Bitcoin at this point. All right, let's take a look at the count on Link and see what that is. And I think I've talked about it yesterday as well, or actually I didn't. I was going to change the count, which I didn't, and I presented it into the room. So second wave, and I came up with this more of an impulsive look, and I kind of got rid of some of those leading diagonals and things that weren't panning out with the sell-off, and I kind of switched my count, still remain bullish, but looking for this as being a second wave. Now if this wants to be all of it into the 38%, that means that the trend is very, very strong, and if this is the case, then we're going to make new highs and go towards $100 in Link. But I was also looking at this third wave and say, hey, listen, is this shorter than 5? It's not. So wave 5 is shorter than 3. Wave 3 is shorter than wave 1. So we have a pretty good impulsive sequence. You have a 1 in here that's impulsive. You have a 2. Then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for 3, 4. And then you have a finished fifth wave in here. I think that's the best I have for right now. And, because of this major sell-off, I got to consider this a separate sequence that's got pretty much nothing to do with this. Sorry, Sam, I'll talk to you a bit later. All right, so this is that. Okay, let's go take a look at the next one here, and we have NEO. I don't think I have much to talk on NEO on terms of the counts, but just kind of pulling back in here, right, towards 55, and, these are good levels of support and for a continuation of the trend higher as well. I mean, you can see a pretty good support here from, from these ADR levels. Up on the daily charts, right, 31 along with this 55, so pretty good in terms of relative performance to Bitcoin. It's continuing to outperform. The RSI looks pretty good, so this is in a nice uptrend as well. Tronics, similar thing, bounce of the 55 in here, bounce of this ADR, RSI gets back here, cools off a little bit, so very good, I think, indication that the trend could resume higher as well. All right, I talked NEO, that moved because of the percentage. All right, let's see ADA in here. All right, what's going on with the ADA? So this one is still pretty far, which means that it's holding, really, really well. I mean, it's a massive outperformer comparing with Bitcoin. Look at where, the RSI is a 95 on weekly, guys. And that's a kind of major, red flag in here. I mean, you can still push, but, and if you look up there, I mean, look at the yellow on the leading quadrant, right? It's one of the best performers up in there, and it continues to hold ground, which is good. So, very good, strong trend. It could be that we're turning and we're continuing higher. So very good performer. And there's nothing in here, just stay bullish on it. With the exception of this weekly RSI, everything else looks good. XLM in here, it's pretty awesome as well. Kind of pulling back at the 55. I think that's a 3-wave decline. I showed you that also onto my counts in here. Where are you, XLM? Right? Just without even, looking at the larger count, if you go from this low in here all the way up here, you got a nice 61%, and I think that's a good place to kind of start, because that's the latest impulsive lag after this triangle correction. So let's see what this is. Maybe that's a 1 and that's a 2. If it's out of a triangle, can't really be a 1, but I think, I mean, it could be 105, right? So if 4 and then you're still doing a fifth wave, and that's 105. So I like it. I like link out to these levels, and so far the move out of here, it's impulsive, but we got to get above this 53 level, 53 cents, to really get a little bit more bullish. But so far it looks good. I mean, you got a pretty big supply defending zone here at about 46.70. So, but overall, I think link looks good. I mean, I'm sorry, Stellar, because this count I could be wrong on these, right? It could be 1 2 1 2 1 2, and you're actually ripping much higher. But that's aggressive. But overall, I'm saying higher highs and higher lows, and I continue to look toward $1 in Stellar. All right, let's take a look and see what's next. Tezos, talked about this. It was one of the bigger sell-offs into over the weekend sell-off in there, and you can see it came all the way up here to at about 200-day moving average, very close to it. Along with the 200-week moving average. So, you can't ask for a better support out of these two. And, just between the 55. So it was kind of warranted for a nice bounce out of there. So far, the move is just in 3 waves, which is a nice pullback. Also, the RSI cooled off. So I said for longer term, if you don't know Tezos, this is a good place to own it, basically, because, it doesn't get any better than this in terms of a corrective move. Even if you go a little bit more and then you correct some, let's say that this move is not done yet, right? This kind of pullback in here, and you're going up in an X and you do another ABC, and this thing's kind of flatten out. That's still good. That's still good. As long as you remain above this level, right? This thing, it's looking higher. So I think, I'm excited about that. Ethereum, let me check a count on Tezos too. Where are you, Tezos, in here? right? So again, similarly, 1, 2, 1, 2, we pull back into the 50%, so looks good. On the next video, I'll try to have the counts presented in here as well, so we kind of don't have to kind of jump back and forth between the screens. Let's see, Ethereum, you know, I just kind of talk about it here, you know, pullback from the 50%, you know, very nice. I mean, even if a stronger uptrend in here, 200-day moving average slightly lower than 200 week, just above that. ATR holding, you can see how it's losing performance comparing to Bitcoin. And up there on the weekly charts is kind of turning a little bit, but it's a little bit weaker relative to Bitcoin in here, so, with the difference some of the other alts. You can see some of the other alts in here, right? Like BNB, ADA, Cardano, I mean Polkadot, right? They're much higher on this kind of leading quadrant, which means that they're better at outperforming. The higher they are on that quadrant, right? You know, the more north they are, the better outperformance versus Bitcoin, and then you can see that up here onto this relative comparison index. So Ethereum, I think, remains bullish. Looking at the counts in here, guys, it's a I think we're kind of starting possibly a fourth wave. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 3. Up into the 16184 and a further move up in 5. So let's stay bullish. Let's stay bullish on these cryptos. I know March is a tough month for most of them, but I think we're gonna get through that. Let's go back in here and see Litecoin. They're still moving on me, so I don't even know if I've talked about them or not. Maybe I should stop it here at the code. So Litecoin looks good. We're pulling back of the 55 of the 50-day moving average, 200 just below. You know, you can see back in here, other side cooling off a little bit. You know, kind of underperforming. I mean, let's look at the, yeah, it's up there towards the bottom of the quadrant as well, towards the bottom of the upper leading quadrant, I should say. But, you know, good level to kind of turn back from. And then let's look at the counts on Litecoin in here. You can see 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, possible fourth forming right now, maybe another triangle followed by a 5. So maybe this is the month of March. All right, what else? Ethereum Classic. Let's skip this one. Nobody cares. But pull back from 55 as well. I mean, super crazy RSI here, even into red. Jesus. So looks good. Looks good for a pullback. And then EOS, it's 164 in here again, pulling back from the 200-day moving average. You know, major sell-off. This EOS is kind of a crappy coin because it doesn't have a very good trending style in here. I mean, it's massively underperforming. You can see even on. I mean, look what it's at. It's basically getting into the leading quadrant right now, and the tail, it's so small. So, it's, I mean, in terms of returns, I guess it could be good if you can purchase it here between $3 and $4, and look for $8. I mean, that's doubling. Bitcoin, let's see what's going on with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, it's I mean, one very strong in here, right? Look at what 55 is. We haven't even gotten all the way down there. And then you have 200 and the 200 week, holding it's here on the daily charts on the ADR. That's the problem. You see, every time you kind of get red on the RSI, you're starting to pull back a little bit, and we were even blue in here, which was kind of crazy. But the trend remains up, so there's nothing to say here but continue to stay bullish and maybe watch if we're coming back out here towards 40. That's the kind of level to accumulate a little bit more longer term. And going in here to the counts, let's see where we are, and going on Bitcoin. Right, so I talked about this yesterday as well, thinking a triangle in a fourth wave in here. So you have this fourth wave, right, this kind of primary fourth that's trying to develop right now, and we've just done the sell-off in this wave A. And I was thinking, hey, possibly this will turn up into a 5-wave move. It didn't. It remains a 3-wave decline in an ABC. So now we're probably doing an ABCX, ABC, and trying to fight with this B wave. The higher levels for this B wave would be 52, but being just the second wave of the sequence, since we don't know exactly what this is going to end up being, this could also become a flat, and you can get much higher in here towards 90% before you sell off again into a running or a if you go higher here, it could be an expanded flat as well. But let's not get into all of that. For right now, we're going to go with the triangle idea. Let's respect that for now and continue to see if we're going to bounce between this 58 and 45. I don't know if I have much trading opportunities on here as yet, but I'll continue to watch it for something good. And going on a daily in here, I 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and then maybe to the month of March. We're looking at a time relationship here about March 19 possibly for a duration of this fourth wave, and then push higher. Now listen, if we're turning from here and we're making a new highs, again, I don't want to become too much, too large of a speculation. There's plenty of things that could happen. This could be 105, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you move higher. If you go up here, this could become a flat and sell lower. So take it one step at a time. I think this is my preferred interpretation from now. You also have this kind of divergence in here into the RSI, so we got to kind of correct that a little bit. All right, Bitcoin, because time is running out, we're about 20 minutes, and then XRP, who cares about XRP, right? It's not doing much. I do have XRP, so I do care about it, but in terms of, counting in and moving it around, I mean, look, it's holding above the moving averages. So if you want to be long with it, so be it. I mean, you got to stop below this 17 cents, because otherwise, they might take it to zero. Just kidding. All right, DOT in here, very good performance year to date, 113% on there, but kind of negative today, which we kind of knew, because DOT has been very, very elevated, and it's been very good performer, so it's pulling back a little bit more on here. Let's see what it is on the right. It's up there on the scale. You can see the orange arrow on the quadrant, so it's a very good performer. You can see up here on the relative comparison as well, so continuing to trend up, massively outperforming Bitcoin. It's holding the ADR, and let's take a look at the counts and see where we are on DOT. So let me go back on ALTS in here, and here is DOT. Here is DOT. 1, 2, 1, 2. Guys, I'm not happy with this third. I'm just not happy with that third. Not happy. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is not a third wave. Not like that. It's got to start from here. So it's got to start like this. 1, 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the move. It's got to be that. Because otherwise. All right. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's our third. Okay. And that's our fourth in here, right? And now we're doing that was the fifth. I mean, it's got to be, because otherwise I don't have a clean impulse here in this thing. Otherwise, it's a bunch of ones and twos and ones and twos. And so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 4, and then you get a pusher higher here in this fifth wave. And now we're going to kind of correct lower, right? Because we finished a larger third, and then we got to do this fourth in here, maybe a triangle and fourth. So I think that is kind of cooked for now. It's kind of cooked for now, and maybe if when you do a little bit more of a one more high, so you got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe do a 4 and another 5, one more push, and then you correct in fourth. But I think this one it's a little bit cooked for a while. All right, let's see what else. XMR, I'm not even going to go there because that's been a nice pullback from 50-day moving average, and just an uptrending market in all the alts. Okay, what else I wanted to talk about? We talked about these, levels in here on the rotation graph, so not much to talk there. Seasonality on Bitcoin, this is the month of March. So all the time, I mean, for the past, 10 years, 7 years in here, we have a decline into the Bitcoin for the month of March. So we'll continue to watch that, because we'll see how the performance is as Bitcoin gets into it. But, if the past holds any truth, why would this month be any different, right? It could be. I mean, look how this green one, which is, 2017, I think. 2014. That was a little bit of an outperformance to the beginning of the month, and then it kind of fell back in line with the rest of them. And some of them kind of started, like 2016, negative, and then it kind of continued to be sideways. So listen, you don't have to sell off massively, but you just kind of go sideways. Here is the seasonality on the month. All right, that's March. All right, quick look at the total assets in here. You know what? I'm going to leave this off. I don't want to talk about this much, but this is kind of how the stock market moves in general, and where is the stocks, where are the bonds, and all of the other stuff. Maybe a lot of you are not interested. Sectors in here, you can see. Let's see who's leading today. Look, utilities, energy, financials. Bam. XLI, XLK, XLI. What are you doing? Okay, that's good. XLU, Excell's communication, technology, consumer staples, consumer discretionary, lagging. The rest of the stuff looks good. Look at energy. Making new highs. I love it. Dow, okay, we're not going to take a look at those. And then, there's a bunch of stuff here. There's so much to talk about. There's so many cool things I can show you, but I don't have enough time. It's 25 minutes. So let's leave it at that. Let's go back at the markets. Let's make some money. Bye.